let's be honest, the girls falling all over you?
Well, yeah, it was a thing. And being a track star, I was like, it was hard. I didn't know what to do with women. It was a really big success at the time. We were on for like 6 or 7 years, prime time every Thursday nights, and then repeats. And we then it was so big that we everybody wanted more, so we created live events. That was the Pink Soul Out events, and we packed grandstands around the country everywhere we went. It was like broke the records in every possible drag racing facility in the United States. I got them to sign over the bill of sale of their car on the hood in front of the cameras, that they had to sign off their cars to me, the producer. So Pullin Media owned the cars in suspension while they raced. Have you heard of 23andMe? And you can elect to share your DNA with that entire group. And she has 51.9% of my DNA. So she's my daughter. What is this? Your algorithm must be wrong. My mother just died 1.5 years ago. So I don't know anything about my mom's previous life. And I'm 34. Her mother's name is in the diary. I show up and here I am. I'm available dad. I ran 100 yards in 9.4 seconds. Coming out of high school, which I flunked.
Well, I thought you were going to say because you finally made it to the Jeff Stearns podcast.
That too.
Jeff Stearns, connected through cars. If they're bigwigs, we'll have them on the show. And yes, we'll talk about cars and everything else. Here he is now, Jeff Stearns.
Where's your accent? You were recruited from Australia for track.
Born and raised in the outback of Australia.
Did you go to like finishing school or speech lessons? Or where is it?
I've been living here since 1969. So, and a lot of it in Texas, actually. I graduated from University of Texas in film school and stuck around and just liked it, I took my Australian accent and kind of twisted it around a bit,
Oh, okay. Okay. And when do you still talk to family back home?
Oh, all the time, yeah. Now it's really easy to do, on things like this. We do.
And does the accent come out when you're talking to them?
Absolutely, yeah. I just change channels.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
It's funny. I know Australia isn't exactly New Zealand, but for someone like me, I can't pick the dialect or accent apart.
Yeah.
And I have a dear friend that we just lost. He just died, named Gavin Riches, who was a Porsche 911 rally driver in New Zealand. He lived in Fort Myers, Florida, but every year went back to race.
Yeah.
And I loved listening. When he would call me, I would just put it on speaker and sit back and listen to him talk. He could just read me the yellow pages. I would love it.
Yeah. Well, my accent's not what it used to be. I kind of have blended in now. It helps because people don't stop me and ask me all about Australia anymore. They just say, "Where are you from again?" That's I'd rather talk.
Did you have that accent through? So I don't want to get into. I don't want to have you disclose your age, but you moved here when you're 69. I'm going to assume pretty young, if not a baby or a kid.
Right.
So did you even ever really have an accent? Because you really grew up here.
No, I really had an accent when I started out in Australia. I was born and bred down there, in the outside of Melbourne, which was like living in the country down there, kangaroos.
God, well, I just was trying to do the math and how good you look. And I'm thinking he couldn't have been that old in 69. All right. So I'm assuming then meeting, like were you a teenager when you came, or did you spend your teen years here? That's a better question.
No, I came when I was 20.
Okay. Well, you look freaking unbelievable. Let's just say that right now.
Thanks. Thank you.
But I'm assuming at that age, coming here with that accent, let's be honest, the girls falling all over you?
Well, yeah, it was a thing. And being a track star, I was like, it was hard. I didn't know what to do with women. It's like they were everywhere. Every time you
didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what to do with the access supply.
Yeah. It's like,
Jeff Stearns, connected through cars with my good friend, introduced by another good friend, Stephen Pullin, who's most famous for Pink's Lose the Race and Lose Your Ride and other Pink's franchises. I can't believe how excited I am to have you on here. I told you when we were talking a little bit before we started recording here that I told a couple of buddies in a business meeting that I was going to be doing a show with you. And I mean, it was, well, it wasn't almost like, can I get an autograph? But I'm going to have to get your autograph for a couple people.
Glad to send one over.
Thank you for that. So thank you very, very much for joining.
No, it's my pleasure. Great to be here.
So you're most famous, this Pink's, and now I'm going to look at the notes. So Lose the Race, Lose Your Ride, Pink's All Out.
Yeah.
All Outtakes,
yeah.
And there was a total of 129 episodes. And is this what you're most famous for, or
well, it was a really
what you
big
call your biggest?
Yeah, I think it was a really big success at the time. You know, we were on for like 6 or 7 years, prime time every Thursday nights, and then repeats. And we then it was so big that we everybody wanted more, so we created live events. That was the Pink's All Out events, and we packed grandstands around the country everywhere we went. It was like broke the records in every possible drag racing facility in the United States. Been down to Florida several times and broke the records there. It was a great time. It was a good rush, you know, and fun to be doing that for so long. You know, you get used to it, build a whole crew of people, about 60 people, and we traveled around the country and, you know, made some money. It was good. And made a lot of people good in their careers too. They, you know, I got people who have elevated themselves up to producers and directors out of the ranks of the crew. So it was just a wonderful time, and that was, you know, you catch on to something like that, and it just takes off like a rocket, and you sort of go with the flow. And what happened was the network ended. We could have kept going for years, actually, you know. Because we had such a brand. But the network, you know, Fox had Speed Channel, and they weren't making hundreds of millions, you know, they were making tens of millions. And so that wasn't enough for them. And streaming was about to take place, and breakup of cable was about to take place. And they just said, you know, we love you. Your TV show is making us, you know. I kept that network alive, they say. I mean, I wasn't privy to all of their accounting, but I know we did well. And they actually grossed to Fox about $100 million over the course of that series. So they did pretty well. So
whether you were the one keeping them alive or not, it didn't hurt.
Didn't hurt, no. So they did well with it. And I did well career-wise, you know, as here we are. You know, you'd heard about me. So...
well, I thought you were going to say because you finally made it to the Jeff Stearns podcast.
That too.
The pinnacle. So I'm curious because Speed Channel ceased
to
be.
They switched it off. Boom.
And Pink's was a definite well-known franchise.
Yep.
I mean, here it is. How long has it been? 10 years?
Yeah.
And it's still like you could have told me 3-4 years ago and I would have believed you. It doesn't feel like it's that far gone.
Yeah.
I'm surprised someone else didn't pick you up, or was that a good segue for you to end it? What was? Well,
you know, the way it works is that other networks like Discovery Channel decided that looks like a good idea. Why don't we do that, you know? And they came up with this thing called Street Outlaws, which was a different twist.
Oklahoma,
on the same thing.
Very familiar.
And they flew with that, and they didn't need me to produce that for them. They have lots of producers, and a lot of other networks do too. So, and I was kind of glad. I wanted to change. I wanted to do some different things anyway. You know, I'm a producer first. I'm a car guy second, but produce first. You know, and I wanted to do some more. And so Grudge Race came up. There were a lot of people who wanted me to do something else. I couldn't do Pink's because I did not own the underlying copyright to Pink's. Fox owned that. You know, you can't tread on their thing. In fact, I was just amazed that they didn't rerun all of those episodes. They never did. And I had all of those episodes in my garage, and they never asked me for them. So just completely died, which, you know, the audience, I had people campaigning to keep it on the air, and it didn't do any good. So that's big networks for you. Big corporations need hundreds of millions. They don't need any millions.
And I just heard your accent, Stephen. It just doyed. It doyed. I heard it. Oh, you're not fully polished out.
I'm not polished out, no, in every way.
From one colony to another colony. You just can't stay off the colony.
Right.
So it's interesting. You're right. So when you were doing the show Pinks and didn't get picked up by another network or I think Discovery, right? Hang on. Did Street Outlaws,
yes.
Right? Yeah. And Street Outlaws are the fellas in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
are
right.
You familiar, or do you try to block it out?
No, that's it. I know.
Okay.
It's what it was.
I like the show not as much as yours, let's be honest. I think it could use a little better production.
Yeah.
So you could just tell it's an amateur. But really, unless you patent it or copywritten, which how could you, the concept of street racing, they did something called R&D on you, which is rip and distribute.
Yep, they did.
They took your idea, and it makes sense, and this stuff works. Now, was there you could be honest here, was there an inspirational show that you got the idea from on Pinks?
Well, Grudge Race. Grudge Race is a drag racing show, and it's two guys come to a track, and they have a grudge between each other, and they race best 2 out of 3. And the loser, he gets his car all beat up and has things taken out of the car and parts removed and things like that. So we took a lot of the similar things about Pinks, except lose the race, lose your car, So that went okay.
Right, but Grudge Race was subsequent to Pinks. It was after Pinks.
Yeah, that's right.
Were you inspired by any show to come up with Pinks?
No, that's a good question. Pinks was like one of about 20 ideas of shows that we had at the time. And I had a friend of mine working with me in an agency, and he was doing the same thing, coming up with ideas. And it was a one-line idea, race for Pinks slips, which is the title to your car, right? And
right.
We'll call it Pinks, lose the race, lose your right. That was it. And that was the one that stuck. And so the story on that is that the network thought I would never be able to produce a show like that, that it wasn't possible to make a TV show because I couldn't get people to actually lose their cars. And to be on network, you had to have that happen. So how are you going to do this? And I said, well, I know how to do that. I could figure that out. And so just give me some money and I'll go away and show you. So they gave me $100,000. Here's $100,000. Go away and make 4 episodes, and we'll believe you if you can do it. And
was that a reasonable budget then?
No, that's
okay.
not even half.
Okay.
So
I'm like $25,000 an episode.
To finish these shows. But it was good that they said that, and they would write a little letter and say, if we like it, we'll keep going with it. But we have to know that you can do it. And so the trick that I did is that I got them to sign over the bill of sale of their car on the hood in front of the cameras, that they had to sign off their cars to me, the producer. So Pullin Media owned the cars in suspension while they raced. And then after the show, I handed 2 of those to the winner. And they took the guy's car that way.
Okay. So let's talk about the realities of somebody losing their car in a race, because racing for Pinks is a big posturing thing, but very few people show up to do that.
Right.
It's like bumping chests in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than just getting punched, right?
Oh, yeah.
So how many people that showed up to do it really did it or didn't do it? I don't know what the minority is. And there had to be some emotional fallout over someone saying I didn't mean it, or there's got to be something behind that. I mean, or what would motivate someone to do it? What did you discover was the motivation that someone actually would show up to sign the titles over to your production company in suspension for you to hand the titles to the winner.
Yeah. They
why?
want to be
Why
on,
would they do it?
They want to be on TV. I mean, that's it. Being on TV and being famous, almost famous, was a bigger thing than having a car. And then many guys owned shops. So we would source all these episodes out of shops. You know, go into a town and you find an automotive shop where a bunch of guys are working on cars. And those guys can put together a car, you know, a car that works and go fast and race that. And I say, okay, you know, if you want to give that up, you got to sign it over to me. That's all, you know. And we got a lot of them that way. We got a lot of good cars too that were signed over, but it was legit, had to be legit. I had to show the network that the documents were there. So that's the way it happened. And then it just got bigger and bigger. But then we got tired of tracking those things down, frankly. You know, we did about 60 episodes or something, or 50 that way. And then we converted over to Pink's All Out, which is kind of like Pink's on steroids. So you didn't have to lose your car in Pink's All Out. You just had to show up and win a slot in the final round. So we had hundreds of cars show up in the morning at those events, like 100, 200, 500 cars would show up in the morning at those events. We would show up and fill the grandstands, and we'd select them according to they would just do runs to time themselves out, gives you best time. So there'd be 10 5 cars, 10 9 cars, you know, 12-second cars, and we put them into groups, and we'd pick a group randomly. We would pick a group and say, okay, the 9 5 cars, if you had that many, are the ones who are going to race for the winning trophy in this event today. And people love that. You know, they didn't really care.
And none of this resulted in anyone losing their car at the end of it.
Nobody lost their car at all.
It was just an elimination until a champion. Okay, I'm going to try to back you up a little bit. Is there any story, Stephen, that you could share with us about the original Pinks, lose the race, lose your ride, where emotions flared because they were losing their car? Like they showed up, like, I'm all in on that, or was everyone a big boy about it every time?
No, there was a lot of people who flinched at the end, you know, and that they didn't want to be called out on live television, you know, and so you really put it to them. They didn't want to see this happen because they put so much love into these cars, and it was their baby, and then here you are, you know, the other guy's driving it away, and but that's the show, you know. It's like it's the show right there.
Were there any physical altercations or anything where you had to get security involved to pull the guys back from each other?
No, I don't think so. But it was, I mean, they would talk about cheating and you were jumping the gun, you were doing this and all that sort of stuff. We have to prove it out, and that'd be part of the show too, you know, having to prove those things out to make it as legit as possible. But we've had all kinds of stuff happen. People had a flat tire, had to change the tire. All right, we'll give them, you know, we had a system where we would give them car lengths. So you sort of negotiate, you know, car lengths, you know, put my hands up. So be back a bit, or back 2 lengths, or back 3 lengths, or whatever it was. I mean, if it gets to be, you know, 8 lengths, it's too much, you know, and a quarter mile.
Right.
So we had to calibrate that a lot to get it to play out. But that's just producing, you know, figure out. You got everybody there, and you got your cast is there, and people are waiting. You got to figure out something. You know?
Very interesting. I see that looking at my notes that you're currently developing formats in the area of DNA.
That's right.
And also space exploration. But can we talk about the DNA piece a little?
Sure. Well, something really wonderful happened to me a couple of years ago. You heard of 23andMe, which is
genealogy. Yes,
genealogy. My wife gave me a subscription to 23andMe, and you get your saliva and you spit into a tube, and then you send it off in the mail, and then they sequence your DNA, and they match that up against 20 million other people they have in their database, right? And I did it, you know, because I got it for Christmas present, and I didn't expect anything out of it. And then you can, inside that application, you can, when they give you your DNA, you become part of the entire 20 million universe that they have. And others have even more. And you can elect to share your DNA with that entire group, 20 million people. So you can push a button and slide it over, and now you're into the entire database.
Now, does this mean that they're allowed to know about you and vice versa, or what does that mean, be in the database?
Well, yeah, you give them a lot of details about your personal, who you are.
No, but I mean, does that mean that another 23andMe subscriber or member can now know that they're related to Stephen Pullin? Here's his email and phone number?
That's not email and phone number, but that's the idea of this. When you elect and you agree that you share it, there's under some requirements, you share your DNA into this database. And up pops all of your suspected relatives, okay? So I have currently about 1,800 relatives, people who have my DNA, and they're all over the world. Now, at the top of the list, most DNA is one girl. Her name is Dove. And she has, I think it's 51.9% of my DNA. So she's my daughter.
See, I wouldn't know the percentage of DNA that makes.
Yeah. That makes her my daughter.
Okay.
So pick yourself
I'm listening.
up from the floor.
I want a story well told here.
Yeah, pick yourself up from the floor and you go, what the? Is you kidding me? I said, I don't have a daughter, Yes, you do. And I called 23andMe and I said, what is this? Your algorithm must be wrong. Something went wrong with this whole thing. It's another guy. No, she's definitely your daughter. And so we began communicating inside a text app, just like you have on your computer here, right? Texting back and forth and, asking each other questions. Hey, they say that we're, father and daughter here. And so how'd this happen? Do you believe it? She said, I don't know. I had a dad. He died two years ago, and my mother just died a year and a half ago. And so I don't know anything about my mom's previous life. And I'm 34. So it was 34 years ago. So long story short.
Was your mother at a Rolling Stones concert? All right, go ahead.
Yeah, well, so you go back to the 80s. So where was Steve in the 80s? Steve was in Dallas, Texas. Her mom was in Dallas, Texas at the same time. And I go, well, that narrows it down a little bit. So I go, okay, well,
oh my God,
I better do some more research on this. So in my garage, I have a diary, like I have a diary like this that I'm holding up here. This is my diary for 2021, right? And every day I write a note in the diary about what happens to me, right? So I have every diary for like 30 years or something like that. So I went in the garage one weekend and rooted around. I found 1984, 1985 diaries. And sure enough, her mother's name is in the diary.
Oh my God.
And I go,
well,
okay.
Pretty good chance now.
Now we should get into this a bit, So it's turned out that, we had an affair, and it went on for about 3 or 4 months. And the result is this beautiful girl named Dove, and got two grandsons. So now I have 2 grandsons. And my son, who's 29, he's got a sister, and it's for real.
And have you met?
We met. She lived in Long Beach.
Oh, perfect.
For years, and so it was easy for us to hook up. And we spent a lot of time together, and she's got a great little family. But they just moved to Texas because they wanted to buy houses for nothing over there. And they moved to Texas, raising their family up north of Austin in the country. So it's been an interesting situation.
So as far as you developing formats in that area, is this come out of your 23andMe experience, which is amazing, by the way, like amazing.
Yeah.
How's your wife, by the way? How is your wife with you having a daughter?
React to it? Oh, we've been married about 10 years, and so it's like I'm a straight arrow anyway. So she can appreciate a track star from Australia, loose in those days in the 80s, kind of get away with it. I mean, she doesn't really care. I mean, she's fine with it, and they've met and they're great friends now, so that's the way it is. It's like these things happen. People have a past.
That's an amazing, amazing story. That's honestly, and I'm sincerely for you personally, very happy for you, and very happy for Dove, especially losing her parents that she knew.
Yeah. Oh, it's been
to be able to have you show up like that.
Yeah, I show up, and here I am. I'm a available dad. So I'm not going to tell you the name of the series that I've got developed, and I've made a sizzle for this already, and it'll blow your socks off. I mean, I've got it with my Hollywood agent right now, and he's so excited about it. They're going to shop it around for me, and I think I mean, I get moved every time I see the sizzle, because I did it about our first meeting when we first met up, and it'll just blow you away. And so I figure I can do that 100 times.
Got it. What can you talk about related to the space exploration project that you're working on?
Well, that one is, I'm excited about that. I've done a lot of research on space, and I'm a big fan of Elon Musk and what he's doing. And the idea is go to corporations. I shouldn't even say this too far out loud because other people will try and beat me to it. But
don't. If you don't want it out there.
It's an easy thing. I mean, there are now hundreds of companies in the space economy, lots of companies. It's not just Elon Musk. He's just building the rockets that go up mostly, and the capsules. But the satellite companies, doing Earth sciences and on the space station. What do you think all those experiments are on the space station? They're all individual companies that buy a slot to get, to grow grass faster, or to find a different way of making cotton or something like that. They're doing those kind of experiments, and hundreds of companies have come alive. And I want to make a video about every one of them and make them short so they're easy, to watch. You can make a series of like 20 things, and they're only 6 minutes about the company and what they're doing in space.
Snackables, yes.
So I'm working on that.
By the way, I heard that term. I didn't coin that term.
I
Someone
like that term.
used it the other day.
Can I steal it?
I stole it. Why not?
Okay.
I actually heard that from Tim Sabian, who was Howard Stern's VP of content for like 30 some odd years.
Okay. Snackables. Yeah, well, that's the way. I mean, the human mind today is limited, to what they can handle. There's so much content. To watch something from 6 minutes, a story that begins and ends in 6 minutes, is a big deal. If you can get them to go for 20 minutes, that's unbelievable.
Right.
If it's an hour, it's a whole movie,
That's exactly right. Now, looking at your website, and can I share Pullin Media in the show notes? Is it okay to share this?
Yeah, sure. That's why it's public.
Okay. Well, I just didn't know it was just for those big shot Hollywood types like you.
No, it's for everybody. It's
okay. So, folks, we'll put on the site pullinmedia.com, but I love the headliner at the top of before the fold of the page. Great stories, well told.
That's it.
So, unbelievable background. Now, I'm curious. Let's see if I can get a scoop here. What do you wish people knew about you?
Well, I work so hard to be a producer and a director. And that's my craft. I mean, you get these projects that take off and people say, oh, that's what you do. But you can put me on any project. I don't care really what it is. I'm not really attached to anything. And I've worked on a lot of other people's projects. But what I'm most proud of is being on time and under budget all the time, and doing it
on time and under budget.
Yeah, all the time.
All right, well, that makes you rare in only 2 categories.
Yeah, like I was ready for you. Today I was ready half an hour beforehand to push.
And who was not on time?
Well, you're not a producer.
Okay.
You're
I'm
excused.
the talent, so you got to deal with me.
You're excused. In the media, that's no excuse. You got to have if you're a producer, you'd be out the door in a flash if you're not on time and under budget.
Well, no. And all respect, you deserve the respect. Forget about the title. That's not like me at all. And I really do apologize.
I know that. And you've done great stuff.
Yeah.
I've already checked you out too. It's wonderful what you've done.
Oh, thank you.
In another way, you know?
So what's something that we would be shocked to know about you?
I'm blown away.
And you can't have ever told anyone else. And folks, there was no setup on these questions beforehand. Am I right, Stephen?
You're right. Shocked to know about me? I don't know. I ran 100 yards in 9.4 seconds.
That's shocking, but it would be even more shocking if you said you did it in the last month.
I can barely walk that far. Okay.
So you're a track star background. I mean, here we are with your 9.4 second time, which is amazing. There's no time in my life that I could have done that. So what leads you from athletic centric life to art, like you're obviously so proficient in now?
Well, coming out of high school, which I flunked in Australia,
so you were a stone athlete.
Yeah, I had to do the final year of high school twice. So I'm not real smart. I'm self-taught about everything. And even college, I flew through college on a scholarship. And so you get a lot of breaks as an athlete. They want you to run more than they want you to do the book. So that's changed now. And all I could do coming out of Australia, I had two really good things that I could do really, really well. And one of them was draw, and the other one was run fast. That's all I could really do. My claim to fame was that I was a really good artist, and I was a really fast runner. That was all I had. And so I started with that. But I liked television. You know, I grew up watching American television. We didn't have Australian television so much. It was American television. And I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. Watched it every day, as many shows as I could digest. And I just always said to myself, I want to be doing that. I want to be a television producer in America and make TV shows. That's what I always said I wanted.
Did you have any aspirations to act, or was it,
No.
were you drawn?
I can't act to save myself, you know. But I could.
Got it. Okay.
But
because I don't know, like if I would have even, like, you know, I would see at the end of a show, executive producer, this, director, that, key grip, whatever. I never knew what any of the roles were.
Well, a lot of actors get to put their names on things, and they say they're executive producers, but they don't actually produce anything, you know. They show up, and their name gets, you know, a few $1 million from a network or whatever, you know. That's the money.
What is a producer? What is a producer?
A producer?
Tell us, for those of us that see that title on the screen and doesn't know exactly what he or she does.
All right. So you have an idea, someone you can adapt from a book, or you can look at something like DNA, or you can look at the space world, or you can look at, you know, what we're talking about here, racing or cars. And a producer, a good producer, a creative producer, will take a look at that, and they'll say, what's the story in that? There's got to be some story, something that's going to get eyeballs. And as I say in the thing that I wrote up, that you got to find something, a visceral feeling about stuff. I mean, is there something which will get people in their gut when they see it? You know, they just connect on a different level. And you can do that with home video cameras and connect, right? Well, you see the sizzle reel I have for my DNA show.
I can't wait. So, but how about into the nuts and bolts? I mean, is it, when you say executive producer, is it something to do with the choosing of the team and the budget and I mean, what do you do?
Hire everybody.
Or what does a producer do?
The CEO of that production. You hire everybody. Everybody works for the producer. or executive producer. If you're executive producer, you can also hire the producer. And he's going to run around and hire the camera crew and hire the assistants and the directors and all of the other people. So editors, you have to find the right editor for every show, all that kind of stuff. Not just anybody. It's got to be, people have specialties and they've had experience in different areas. And you have to look and find those guys and what their experience level is. And you find them and you put them into slots. That's a producer. And you build out a team that will work together really, really well, because everybody by that time knows what to do. They know, they look at the guy across the desk that they've been hired, they've never met each other before, but they've seen his resume and they know, okay, I know that he can do it, so I'm going to trust him. And it's all about trust in this business. You've got to trust, the network is trusting me to deliver what I say I can deliver. And in fact, I just went through this with my agent. I was pitching this project about DNA, and my tendency is to make a deck, which is long, 16, 20 pages, and explain everything. And it's this, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that, and it's all this thing happening. This is connected over here, and all that, and you get to the end of that, and you're either really enthralled or you're exhausted. And he said, fuck that. Get rid of all that stuff. You've got one thing. He said, when I saw your sizzle reel, that blew me away. You don't need anything else because you're a journeyman, experienced, seasoned producer who's got hundreds of credits over many years, and you've made a lot of money for a lot of people. That's all you need to say. They don't need anything else. It's like you don't explain yourself. And I do that too much, I guess, a little insecurity. I want to tell my whole story to everybody. But you don't have to do that.
No, and that's the beautiful thing about being sage and seasoned. Sometimes we wonder as we age, are we as relevant as when we were young? But really what you bring to the table is your hundreds of credits and your reputation and the ROI that you've provided. And then you know what you're looking at and you know what you're talking about. And you made a phenomenal sizzle, which I can't wait to see.
Yeah. I mean, if I say I can do something and I'm excited about it, you better believe I'll get it done. I'll figure it out. It's like, and that's the key to this as well, is figuring it out. I always say those three words because nobody knows what it is in a creative project. It's like, it's not just, we're going to take some cameras and a crew out and we're going to shoot a bunch of stuff. No, it's not that at all. It's like, where's the heartbeat of this thing? Where's that visceral feeling? When I see it, it's going to hit me in the gut and make me, want to go to the bathroom or something, That's what it is. It's like, you've got to have the experience to know that's where the story is. It's that, and that will make the thing go and people will tap into that. And that's what I'm good at. That's what I've learned how to do.
Another question, and only if you're comfortable answering, and you may not even have the answer. But you're closer to show business than I am. The recent news with Alec Baldwin and the tragedy.
Yeah.
Do you have any professional opinion? I mean, my opinion, without being in show business at all, is that he can't be at all at fault.
No.
How could he know? It's a prop. Props are used all day long. There's experts that are hired.
Yeah.
He's handed it. That's my opinion, but there's a lot of controversy out there right now.
Well, it's a no-brainer for me. That assistant director had no business being on that set. And he'd already been fired from another production for similar things as an assistant. And if he said it was unloaded and didn't have real bullets in it, I mean, it's on him. He did that. And they're shooting a scene where the camera is looking down the barrel from a distance of that gun. And the star, the camera girl, the cinematographer was running the camera. So he just pulled that trigger and the bullet probably went right through her camera and hit her. Okay. And so That's on him. There should never be on a movie set. There should never ever be live ammo on a movie set for a lot of reasons. That's just the biggest reason, and that'll change the business a lot. Insurance on its own is going to cost that production company a huge amount of money, and that'll shut everybody up and start looking harder at the credentials of the people they hire. That's what I feel about it. And I only need to see that once. If a guy made that mistake once, he's gone. He was never be on my shoot of any description, ever.
Right. And I'm assuming there's plenty out there that you can trust.
Dime a dozen.
Okay. So back to Pinks.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm happy to.
You thought you were going to get this co-celebrity podcast interviewing you.
No, it's fine.
For God's sake, I do have 1,200 subscribers.
Yeah.
But I'm just a fan, so sorry.
Fire away.
You mentioned that coming out of that show launched a lot of careers for a lot of your people.
That's true.
So here's my question. Do you think it had something to do with your hiring and vetting and choosing practices, who you had? Or do you think it was just the high profile of the show that would have opened a door for anyone?
No, I mean, the people I hired were all top of the line people, I mean, at the time. And they've gone on to do more work that's been great for them because this credit, I'm sure, has helped them. But it's not their only credit. And before and after, they've had a lot of credits in different categories. But many of them, contact me, even to this day, and appreciate it, what it's done for their career. They're spending 10 years with me, good, bad, or indifferent, I mean, we had our ups and downs. On Grudge Race, we ran out of money. The network screwed me out of money, like several $100,000. And so I've, pledged to pay some people back, which they will, but nobody is beating me up over that. It's like, I gave them great opportunities, and stayed with them. And I care about the people that I work with, no matter at what level. I care a lot. And it's forever with me. If I hire you and we do good work together, that's a forever commitment.
Well, integrity, good for you.
Yeah, it's like you have to have that at the end of the day.
Well, it seems like a bare minimum cost of admission to be a good man or a good human being, right? But it's unfortunately it's not so common.
It's just like hard to know that. Different people referring people and stuff like that, but you got to do your own work as the producer. You've got to get out there and find out who you're talking to, who those people are.
I've enjoyed every minute with you, by the way. I don't think you could have said anything wrong with me.
No, I liked it. I enjoyed it too. Asking questions about Pinks was just wonderful. I haven't had anybody ask me these kind of questions before, which is strange.
Look, I'm like Barbara Walters. What can I tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
If I'll have all of my cred as an interviewer if I can get you to cry, but I don't think
that's not going to happen.
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.